Donald Trump's favorability rating is actually higher than it ever was the first time around. Let me ask you, a recent poll by Marquette looked at several of the things that he has done or says that he is going to do, and 63% favor federal government's recognition of only two sexes, 60% favor deporting immigrants who entered the United States illegally, 60% favor expanding oil and gas production, 59% favor declaring an emergency at the southern border.
We fixed the glitch.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Opinions Varied. That's Opinions with an A. Please like, share, and subscribe. And yes, they fixed the glitch being the entire Biden administration. And right there, Jon Karl, you know he didn't like reading those numbers. I just want to know who the 40% are who don't want those things. That's why I want to know who you are. What are you thinking? Anyway, we know who one of them is, and Jon Karl is going to be interviewing him. Hakeem Jeffries, the House Minority Leader. Let's see what they talk about. It's a range of issues, and I'll comment along the way. Let's go.
I'm joined now by Congressman Hakeem Jeffries of New York, the top Democrat in the House. Leader Jeffries, thank you for joining us. I want to start with that extraordinary situation in New York.
Extraordinary.
Before she resigned, the acting U.S. Attorney for the Southern District of New York sent the Attorney General a scathing letter.
Scathing.
Accusing DOJ of engaging in a quid pro quo with Mayor Adams. Let me just read part of that letter. She wrote, rather than be rewarded, Adams' advocacy should be called out for what it is, an improper offer of immigration enforcement assistance in exchange for the dismissal of his case. It is a breathtaking and dangerous precedent to reward Adams' opportunistic and shifting commitments on immigration and other policy matters.
First of all, there's no proof of any of that being true, that this was a reward for anything. And if Eric Adams is going to enforce some immigration laws, he's actually just doing his job finally. I did a video on it yesterday. I'll put it up top of Eric Adams on the couch on Fox and Friends with Tom Homan discussing a lot of this. I can't stand Eric Adams. I don't trust Eric Adams. And me personally, I would have let these charges stick on Eric Adams, at least for a little while.
How concerned are you that the Trump administration is trying to use the justice system to control the mayor of New York City?
Very concerned, and the situation is very disturbing. Mayor Adams has a responsibility to convince the people of New York City that he will be able to continue to govern in a manner that puts their best interests first at all times, and that he's not simply taking orders from a Trump administration, a Trump Department of Justice, or Trump officials who do not have the best interests of the city of New York.
Stop. Okay, so Eric Adams enforcing immigration law, and the part of immigration law that Eric Adams is going to enforce is getting people that are in the country illegally who have already committed violent crimes out. So that's not in the best interest of New York, Hakeem Jeffries. I tell you, the Democrats are just lost. How is that not in the best interest of New York to have illegal aliens who we know, first of all, I've said it a million times, if you're in the country illegally, you are a criminal and you should be deported. Eric Adams is just deporting the ones who have committed crimes that we know are violent. So he's giving ICE access to Rikers Island, which is the jail in New York City, to be able to go in there and deport people once they're released from jail and take them out and get them out of the country. That's what Eric Adams is doing. But somehow to Hakeem Jeffries, that right there isn't in the best interest of the people of New York City. Okay.
At heart.
Because this prosecution has been suspended, which means the Justice Department can renew the prosecution at any time if they don't like what Adams is doing.
That's not true. Okay. Most cases, even Donald Trump's case was dismissed in the same way. Those charges can be brought back. So is it because if Donald Trump doesn't do the right thing, they're going to bring him back? It's complete nonsense. This is a made-up narrative. Me personally, the DOJ now can't bring these charges back because you know what? They're already running with a narrative that hasn't even happened yet. So if they ever reinstated those charges on Eric Adams, it would open up such a disastrous can of worms for the Trump administration. It's not worth it. Who cares? It was nonsense charges to begin with. It was weaponization once again. Eric Adams was only indicted after he started speaking up when he came out of his slumber, his stupor, and realized that mass immigration was going to bankrupt New York City, and he started speaking out against the Biden administration with their total incompetence, willful incompetence on the border, and that's when he indicted him. Okay, so what a bunch of nonsense. They're just making things up that haven't even happened yet. Hey guys, if you're still watching, I really appreciate it. Please like, share, and subscribe. Hit the like button right now. Subscribe. I do one video a day at least. If I don't do one video, it's because of circumstances that were beyond my control and I couldn't get it done. But please like, share, and subscribe. Help me grow this channel. I appreciate it.
Correct. Listen, this Department of Justice is not promoting law and order. It's promoting lawlessness and disorder. And that's been consistent with what we've seen from the Trump administration from the very beginning, including but not limited to pardoning hundreds of violent felons who attacked and brutally beat police officers.
You don't care about police officers. The only police officers that Democrats care about are the ones from January 6th. They only care about them because they can run with this narrative. And by the way, Joe Biden pardoned everybody, including his family, including Dr. Fauci, including Liz Cheney, including who else with his son, with his brother, like I said, his entire family with blanket pardons. And he pardoned people who killed police officers. He pardoned the worst of the worst at the end of his administration. So any moral high ground that Democrats think that they have, whether you agree or not with Trump pardoning everybody from January 6th, they have lost. They lost it when Joe Biden absolutely disgraced the pardon power like no other president in U.S. history.
And then were released back into communities all across the country, threatening public safety. Many of these individuals who were pardoned, this was all facilitated, of course, by the Department of Justice. My Republican colleagues in the House have said nothing about this, or at worst, they continue to support what has occurred.
Did you guys say anything about what Joe Biden did? No.
Lawlessness and disorder. Many of these individuals who were pardoned, for instance, have extensive criminal records for things like domestic violence, weapons charges that are serious, and rape. So this.
Hold on. Again, he's talking about they have these charges. Well, those charges weren't from January 6th. They were pardoned for January 6th. Now, the charges you're talking about may very well be true, but that has nothing to do with January 6th. And the people that get pardoned all the time obviously have a lot of them have sketchy histories. That's why they were in jail in the first place, you dummy.
This is not an administration that is committed to the safety of the American people. They continue to undermine it and flood the zone with chaos.
More broadly, we're in
complete talking point. They're all talking points. Flood the zone with chaos. No, they're just flooding the zone so you guys don't even know what direction to go in, and it's working.
4 weeks in this second Trump administration. What of all of that we've seen play out over these 4 weeks most concerns you?
Every question. What concerns you? Every question is leading. What concerns you? First two questions. What concerns you?
Well, Donald Trump and Republicans consistently promised that they were going to lower the high cost of living. And they've done the exact opposite. They've shown no interest in lowering costs in the United States of America, which are too high. Housing costs are too high. Grocery costs are too high. Child care costs are too high. Utility costs are too high. The cost of living is too high in the United States of America. This country is too.
Thank you for rattling off those 5 things that all went way too high under the Joe Biden administration, Hakeem Jeffries. And you guys were in charge for the first 2 years of that administration. Thank you for rattling that off. So Donald Trump, everything he rattled off is Donald Trump's fault in 3 weeks. I mean, really? Nobody's buying this. These people are lost.
Too expensive, but they've broken their promise. They have no interest in improving the quality of life of hardworking American taxpayers. Instead, what they're trying to do, while they distract the American people, is to jam the GOP tax scam down the throats of people all across this country, all in service of massive tax cuts for their billionaire donors and wealthy corporations.
All right. So Hakeem Jeffries, and this was the question that was never asked during the campaign, and I wish it was. They're talking about the Trump tax cuts that they want to extend. Donald Trump wants to extend forever, never to be sunsetted. So if Kamala Harris had won, were you going to let those tax cuts expire, Hakeem Jeffries? Because that would be the biggest tax hike in the history of this country, pretty much, on the middle class. So again, talking out of both sides of his mouth, completely lost, complete nonsense. He's lying.
It's a toxic bait and switch that is underway, and we will continue to push back forcefully.
But Donald Trump's favorability rating is actually higher than it ever was the first time around. Let me ask you, a recent poll by Marquette looked at several of the things that he has done or says that he is going to do, and 63% favor federal government's recognition of only 2 sexes, 60% favor deporting immigrants who entered the United States illegally, 60% favor expanding oil and gas production, 59% favor declaring an emergency at the southern border.
I'm stopping right there for a second. First of all, like I said, who are the 40% that don't want these things? These are all, I mean, common sense, just boilerplate. I mean, this is simple stuff, okay? But those numbers, first of all, would be in the 80s, maybe the 90s if Donald Trump got fair media coverage. I'm not even saying biased towards him media coverage. Fair, down the middle media coverage. Those numbers would be in the 80s or possibly the 90s. But every one of those things the media frames in some kind of way to put a negative spin on them. So a lot of people don't know. And all they hear is Orange Man bad. And they go, if Donald Trump wants it, it must be a bad thing.
Anything you are seeing that Trump is doing that you are in favor of, that you think is the right thing?
Let me say, as it relates to all of those issues, we're just at the beginning. And the core promise that Donald Trump made is that he's going to lower costs for everyday Americans. In fact, we were told that grocery prices would go down on day 1, on January 20th. Costs aren't lower. In fact, costs are increasing. The price of eggs is skyrocketing.
Price of eggs is skyrocketing because of the bird flu. We've been over this a lot on this channel, and he's lying. He's not even. Let's see if he brings it up. I didn't watch this yet.
Inflation is on the way up. That was the core promise that's been broken. With respect to
inflation was on its way up in the month of January. Joe Biden was still president. Donald Trump just left the Daytona 500, and I saw a clip. Right before I was going to record this video, they're asking him now about eggs. Now they're asking Donald Trump about the price of eggs and everything else. This is now the new talking point. You understand how this works? This is it now.
Prices have reached an all-time high. What's your administration? Egg prices have reached an all-time high.
It was a long, before I ever got here, it was at an all-time. Remember, I've been here for 3 weeks. And when you saw the inflation numbers, I've been here for 3 weeks. I have had nothing to do with inflation. This was caused by Biden. I had 4 years of virtually no inflation. So I'm just taking over. But I'll tell you what, this country has made more progress in the last 3 weeks than it's made in the last 4 years. And we're respected again as a country. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Now, it's going to be that it's 3 weeks and prices of food are not down yet. The inflation's slow. Meanwhile, Joe Biden for January, that's Joe Biden's presidency. Inflation is not going to go down in 3 weeks. It's probably not going to go down in 3 months. It's going to take some time. The amount of damage that Joe Biden did to this country in 4 years is staggering.
Immigration, listen, we have to secure the border. We have a broken immigration system, and we need to fix it in a comprehensive and bipartisan way.
No, we don't. The only thing broken about the immigration system is that we weren't enforcing it. That's the only thing broken about it. Now, if you want to add some things to it, like solidifying asylum rules claims and stuff like that, we can do all that. But you know what? We don't need to do it in a bipartisan way. Republicans, I'm telling you now, you are absolutely destroying yourselves and this country if you negotiate with Democrats. I don't care if you have 1 seat majority in the House. I don't care. Get this done through reconciliation, everything that needs to be done, like Donald Trump said, one big, beautiful bill, and get all this done. Don't even let Hakeem Jeffries in the room.
At the same period of time, as Democrats, we're going to protect dreamers, protect farm workers, and protect families who help our communities across the country.
Now you're protecting farmers? What a load of crap.
Thrive.
So I'm sure you saw Speaker of the House Johnson say the Democratic Party has no leader right now. You might expect it from him to say something like that. But your colleague, Don Beyer, big supporter of yours in the House, basically said the same thing. He said, we're still looking for that national spokesperson. And it could be that Hakeem, you, becomes that national voice. It hasn't happened yet. So are you effectively the leader of the Democratic Party nationally right now?
Barack Obama light right here.
The main spokesperson?
It's my honor to be House Democratic leader, and we're going to continue to work together in an all-hands-on-deck effort to push back against the far-right extremism that is being unleashed on this country with record velocity. We've got to fight in the courts, push back in the Congress, and continue to push back in the community.
Yeah, we got to judge shop. We got to obstruct in Congress as much as we can. And then we got to tell people to get out in the streets and get violent. That's what he's saying, but not exactly saying it.
And as House Democrats, we're doing just that, particularly as it relates to their efforts to not only jam these massive tax cuts down the throats of the American people for the wealthy, well-off, and well-connected.
He caught himself there. I better add wealthy and well-connected there because I know I'm lying when I say that, but I got to add that in because I was like, wait a minute, is he jam massive tax cuts down the throats of American people? Hey, everybody out there, you feel like, are you going to be upset if a massive tax cut is jammed down your throat? Yeah, I don't think so. I think you'll take that pretty well.
But they want to stick working class Americans, middle class Americans, and everyday Americans with the bill by effectively ending health care as we know it.
What?
Hurting children, hurting women.
How did we just get from tax cuts to ending health care as we know it? What are you talking about?
Hurting people with disabilities, hurting older Americans, hurting everyday Americans by slashing and burning Medicaid to the ground.
What?
Effectively trying to jam up the Affordable Care Act, and they're going to target Social Security and Medicare. We're pushing back forcefully against those efforts every day, every week, every month, every year, and that will continue.
You're making things up as you go.
Government funding runs out in less than a month now. We've seen over the past 2 years, Republicans cannot or have not been able to pass government funding without Democratic support. Some of your supporters on the outside are saying you should use as leverage the possibility of a government shutdown to push back at some of what the Trump administration is doing right now. What will you need?
Please shut the government down. Please do.
From Mike Johnson and from the Republicans to agree to go along with efforts to fund the government?
Republicans have consistently shut down the government in the past. And it would be no surprise if they do just that this time around. As a Republican president, a Republican House, and a Republican Senate, they have a responsibility to make sure that government remains open and can function. As Democrats, with respect to any spending agreement, our view, our test, is whether that spending agreement meets the needs of the American people in terms of their health, their safety, our national security, and certainly the economic well-being of everyday Americans.
You hearing any policy here? All I'm hearing is platitudes. I'm not hearing any detailed policy whatsoever.
Rosa DeLauro is the top Democrat on the Appropriations Committee. She's in off and on conversations with her Republican colleague in the House, as well as our Republican and Democratic colleagues in the Senate. We'll see how that unfolds.
Rosa DeLauro was the one, well, I'll show you a photo of her, and she's the one who was yelling about President Musk first. She's out of her mind.
They got scared because President Musk told them, President Musk said, don't do it. Don't do it. Shut the government down. Imagine.
Over the next few weeks, but we are going to make sure that any agreement that is ultimately signed off on has to be one that meets the needs of the American people, and it has to be implemented fully in compliance with the law.
And just quickly before you go, have you had any conversations with the White House? Have you talked to Chief of Staff Susie Wiles or the President about this?
I've not had any conversation with the White House.
Good.
But I do expect that as we get closer and closer to March 14th, that those conversations will perhaps intensify. And at the end of the day, what we have been clear about is that this budget that is working its way through the House of Representatives is a non-starter. Every single Democrat opposed it a few days ago in the Budget Committee, and I believe that will continue to be our position because it's out of control.
All right, Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries, thank you.
What's out of control? What's out of control? Any of those those poll numbers, you saw all those items. Are any of those things out of it? Apparently, the American public wants all those things. And like I said, 60%, it's more than that. It's more than that. And like I said in the beginning, with any kind of fair coverage, those numbers are in the 80s or 90s. This is common sense stuff. And the Democrats are just so wayward. They're becoming a radical fringe party right before our eyes. Right before our eyes. And Republicans, hello, Republicans. Get something done without Democrat help. You cannot negotiate with the Democrats. They will not negotiate in good faith. They will use the media to make you look like the bad guys if something doesn't get done. Get this done. You're not all going to get what you want. I've got, in my state, they want SALT expanded for taxes. You might get it expanded. You're not going to get the numbers you want, though. Take what you can get. Every Republican, take what you can get. Bring it back to your constituents, and you say to them, this is what we can get right now, but in order to get what we need to get done to build this country back and to bring this country back, I had to take a little bit less right now, but next time we can get more. It's going to be a long road, but you got to get it done without Democrat help. You have to. If you negotiate with the Democrats, it's over. It's over. You've lost. Don't do it. Don't do it. You get one shot at this. You get one shot. And if you do it, you will increase your majorities in 2026. And then you have a better chance of getting more of the things you want specifically for your constituency. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments. I appreciate you watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you next time right here at Opinions Vary.
Opinions vary.